We're coming, and we ain't backing down.
We don't need a bunch of cats in here looking in the mirror.
Everybody just do your job. You understand that?
Hey, will you shut up?
I'm bitterly disappointed with the officiating today.
Guys being dudes.
And they run through our like through a tin horn, man.
Thank you, Lee. Alex, penultimate hurry up of the season.
Richard, just one more to go after this one for week 12. And what a week it was. I mean, only one national postseason thing really changed, but there were a lot of moments where it looked like things were going to change. A lot of conference races got very hot as they came into a bit clearer focus. So fun day. Excited to go over it in 30 minutes, by which I mean more than 30 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, come on. 30-ish minutes. You guys know the drill. Longest 30 minutes of your week starts in 3, 2, 1. USC 48, UCLA 45. That was our Bet US Pick'em game of the week. Everybody took USC sans Alex. Everybody was right sans Alex.
I said it was a toss-up, and it was a toss-up. The extent to which it was a toss-up was that what has been the thing, Richard, that we have warned about, like what for USC, what could go wrong, which is USC is generating turnovers and avoiding them at a historic clip. They are up to plus 20 now in the turnover margin through 11 games. If they keep that pace through an entire season, that will be the greatest turnover season that I can find record of, at least in this century. It's weird. It's hard to replicate this week after week. In this game, they didn't replicate it for the first part of the game. It looked like USC was actually like UCLA was going to kind of turn this on them. And then USC went back to being USC, and they took the ball away 4 times from UCLA. And as you note, still only won by 3 points, but they did it and it counts.
Yeah, you should not only win a game by 3 points when you are plus 3 in the turnover margin. But whatever, that's a quibble. Caleb Williams generated like 500 total yards by himself. He's on an absolute heater right now. Obviously, USC is on an absolute heater right now. They clinch a Pac-12 championship berth in this game, which, Alex, you will note before the season, we said was the expectation. The standard is the standard there.
USC has done exactly what we said they should be doing in year 1 under Lincoln Riley. And I feel comfortable with the analysis that when you bring in basically a transfer all-star team with the best offensive coach in the sport, you're going to get pretty good pretty fast. Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison are different kinds of guys. My favorite play of this game, by the way, was the wheel route touchdown for Addison where he lined up as a tailback. It kind of looked, even on replay, like UCLA just forgot about him because he was lined up at running back, which may be an oversimplification, but I think there's something there. You should cover Jordan Addison if you get the chance. It's a good idea.
I think UCLA, we kind of found a little bit of the limits of throwy UCLA when UCLA really has to chase it or match it, I should say. In this game, obviously, like a couple of those interceptions were like, it's the you definitely didn't see him there kind of interception that is just, and one of the tip drill thing. But of course, Alex, you can go to betus.com. That's betus.com to join now and get 200% in bonuses with promo code SCD. Nobody in the industry gives better discounts than BetUS. Again, join up, use a promo code SCD. You get up to 200% in bonuses on your first deposit. Oregon 20, Utah 17, reversal of fortune from last year. Oregon, flipped the script. I thought Oregon ran the ball pretty well in this game. Bo Nix was obviously hurt. They put Ty Thompson in the game for like 2 seconds, and Ty Thompson turned the ball over, and Utah scored, which was one of their 2 touchdowns on the night. Cam Rising was not good one bit in this game. I thought Oregon on the defensive front was really good. I thought limited Utah on the run, especially in the first half. Rising pretty much only had Dalton Kincaid to throw to, that's a Utah thing. And Oregon won. Oregon won, and it didn't feel like Oregon should have been in this kind of trouble, but I think you understand why Oregon was a little bit limited offensively, and it happens.
It does happen from time to time, and Oregon does take care of business in a game where, to me, it looked like it didn't need to be this close, but it was, and that's fine. Washington, quite a lot. Colorado, very few. Noting this one because Washington, with developments, remains in the hunt in the Pac-12. They have an outside chance, but a chance to crash the USC-Oregon Conference Championship game party. not likely, but with a win and the right amount of help from the Ducks, they would find themselves in that title game. So good year for the Washington Huskies. Also in this conference, a non-championship relevant game, but a good one. Cal 27, Stanford 20. Bears come roaring back. They were behind in this game. They dropped Stanford to 3-8, down a couple touchdowns entering the fourth quarter, and then go on a 21-0 run to basically seal this thing. Send out Joe Starkey, their radio announcer, after 40 years. Obviously, 21.25 is a lot for Cal. It's a lot for anybody. Got some help. They had an interception deep in Stanford territory, but the ending of this game was delightfully quirky.
Shocking.
Richard, for some.
Shocking for some.
It's a 10-point game with seconds left, like 4 or 5 seconds left. And so the game is over.
Yeah, the game is over. Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing that can be done. I'm not criticizing this decision at all.
No, it's funny as hell.
It's funny, but they send out their kicker, Josh Carty, for a 61-yard field goal as time expired to go down 7 points. And the kicker bangs it through a walk-off field goal in a loss. And all the better, it flipped the game to the over for a significant number of bettors.
Watching Cal's coach celebrate a made field goal by the other team at the end of the game.
You only get this in college football.
Yeah,
this would never happen in the NFL.
No, in the NFL, they just kneel it out. Like in the NFL, they kneel it out or whatever. Like that was sure, David.
Great. And great for the kicker. He'll probably get, I don't know, some looks based on that. I actually did not make note of his eligibility.
No, he peered that thing though.
Oh, he crushed it. Would have been good from well over 61. Love to see it. Congrats to Cal, though, on winning the game, the big game. SEC SoCon Challenge Week, Richard, in the Southeastern Conference. The Vols, not a good night. You feel for this.
Fucking look like a SoCon team.
Probably don't. Richard, take your victory lap, though. So it's South Carolina 63, Tennessee 38. You said it a number of times before the year, and I'm not sure how much you believed it, but you said it.
No, I believed
it. Spencer Rattler was going to get somebody at some point. He got somebody at this point.
Too much natural talent to be held down for 12 games. Now, he was held down for 10, I will say. But they had, dude, it was almost like a different, different South Carolina offense showed up Saturday night. Like it was almost like a different guy was calling plays, a different guy, different offensive line. It was really, really impressive. Look, this is the problem with Tennessee's defense. Tennessee's defense up front, I've thought is good this season. But if they don't get pressure, which they didn't against Georgia and they didn't on Saturday night against South Carolina, they're just vulnerable on the back end. They really are. And they got multiple times. I mean, Spencer Rattler's back there with Sandwich making time in the pocket, and he was fucking dealing, man. Like this was not like a turnover few. No. Like he was making the throws, like the throws you saw last year in the Cotton Bowl against Texas, the throws. It was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic. He is what they brought. That is why you brought him here. You brought him here to do that. You had not seen it all season for various reasons, but especially in big spots against good teams. And that was it, man.
He delivered very much so. I think it speaks to the respect that Hendon Hooker has among college football fans, analysts, media, etc., that even people who would be inclined to take a ton of joy in Tennessee losses in this fashion seem pretty down about him getting hurt in this game. He went down non-contact. Everyone, even the most ardent Tennessee hater, I think hopes that Hendon Hooker is good. That was devastating. Felt terrible for him and them.
Game was kind of effectively over at the time. So it's not like Hendon Hooker went out and that's the reason they lost, but it was a real bang because obviously they come back from commercial and say, hey, not only is Hendon Hooker hurt, but that play that kind of looked like a fumble was actually a fumble. South Carolina took over and scored really quickly. It really was everything falling apart like at that moment.
Good wishes to him. Still an incredible season for him in that program, but this is a tough way for it to go. Vanderbilt 31, Florida 24.
Yeah,
so, Richard, Billy Napier was more diligent than any coach in his peer set about tempering expectations coming into the year. He screamed it from the rooftops that this was going to take time, and he's earned our defenses based on that. But,
bad. cannot be losing to Vanderbilt like this. Cannot be losing to Vanderbilt when a fumble is recovered or a muffed punt returns fumbled in the end zone. Florida had like a million penalties in this game. And I'm not trying to say like this is bullshit, like whatever. Like Vanderbilt took advantage of Florida screwing the pooch here. But it was bad. It was bad.
Sure. No, it can be true at once, by the way, that Vanderbilt is way better. And by the way, it is alive for bowl contention going into the last week of the season, and Tennessee's medical situation is unclear. Kudos to Vanderbilt. They are a lot better. It is still the case that even with the state of Florida's roster after Dan Mullen got fired, that they should not be losing games like this. All of that can be true at once. Georgia 16, Kentucky 6. Kentucky had a 9-play, 99-yard touchdown drive here that took 5 minutes. It's the second year in a row that they've had a capital D drive against Georgia. I remember the last one vividly.
Last year was fake. It was a lot of penalties.
Also, the second year in a row that there wasn't much else to write home about.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kentucky's never winning this game. Special teams shambolic again, by the way. Absolutely horrendous. I thought Will Levis had a pretty bad pick in the end zone there when Kentucky was actually driving to maybe kind of score. Georgia, this is one of those games I think the previous Georgias lose. Previous versions of Georgia find a way, not last year, you know what I mean, find ways to lose this game, and Georgia got it out, and they even left some points on the field. I think at one point in time, Kirby went for it on like a 4th and 1 and said after the game that like we do it because we have confidence in our team, and like that's what we want to do.
Arkansas 42, Ole Miss 27. It wasn't that close. It was 42-6 before Ole Miss did some work in garbage time. People will say that Lane Kiffin's head may have been elsewhere, such as somewhere on the plains in the state of Alabama. And I've heard crazier conspiracy theories.
I think it's a dumb narrative. They got ran the fuck over by Arkansas, which
is
want to do this kind of thing.
They do. I've still heard wilder theories, though.
There's a little wilder theories. There's a little Alabama body blow in there, too.
KJ Jefferson played well. Rocket Sanders had a big running day. He's had a really good year. He had 232 yards on 24 carries. That is nearly a 10 spot per carry, and scored 3 times. Good for him and good for them. Mississippi State a lot. East Tennessee State a little. And that is it for the FCS Upset Draft at Split Zone Duo. Congrats to our winners, Aiden, KD, Jenny, Ryan, Kevin, and Arthur. We'll be in touch with some home field apparel gifts for you. By the way, Black Friday going on there right now, site-wide. In the Big 12, TCU 29, Baylor 28.
Alex, apparently they can keep getting away with this.
Boy, can they. So I don't think you missed this. I think if you're listening to this podcast, you probably watched this, but quickly, Kendre Miller and Quentin Johnson. These are, Miller and Johnston are the two best players on this team.
They are the two best players on
offense. The best running back and best receiver. Exit this game. Imari DeMarcado comes in at running back and plays his ass off. Unfortunately, drops a 2-point pass coming across the formation that would have tied the game. Defense gets a stop, so they get the ball back down 1. Blake Shapen could have thrown for the win for Baylor and didn't. The drive that TCU then mounted and the end of that drive to win this game, Richard, it's going to be one of the most memorable fire drills in the history of the sport for my money.
Yeah, this was, all a plan and practice situation. It happened so quickly that you're like, what are they doing? And look, dude, Sonny Dykes would have gotten killed if they would have missed the field goal, but they didn't.
Pilloried.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. But look, they ran the field goal unit on with, I believe, exactly 16 seconds. Like they ran a play, had 16 seconds left, ran the field goal unit on. Field goal unit comfortably. The kicker was able to take a couple beats after running on, settle his heart rate, and then kick the game-winning field goal. You can do this with around 15 to go. The TCU says, per friend of the show, Sam Khan, The Athletic, that TCU says they need 12 usually and practice it with 11, but practice makes perfect. They had 16. And they put it through, man, and they won the game, and they are still here. They are still undefeated. Iowa State next week, probably Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game.
I was fascinated that they tried it no matter how much they practice it. The order of operations where you go spike, run, field goal instead of run, spike, field goal it's not one that you would try at home or that I would recommend you try at home, but maybe they felt more comfortable with it. It worked. Shout out to Griffin Kell for and also to his holder, whose name I didn't take down. I mean, the holder is really responsible for sort of organizing the ship in that case, and it worked. The
funny thing is the kicker was on not late, but the kicker was kind of, he
was like hanging back. Yeah. He was like hanging back. Yeah, it was, you were sort of starting to wonder what the deal was there. Also, Max Duggan, career-defining drive for him to set that whole thing up. Kansas State 48, West Virginia 31. Richard, this is an I feel. It's not an I know. No one has told me this. It's just let's put some puzzle pieces together and look at the state of things. It's over for Neil Brown. I just feel that way. Over and done. They couldn't stop Kansas State in this game. Will Howard was the quarterback and played really well, as Kansas State fans will tell you he can do. They're in good position to get another crack at TCU. And West Virginia is not. Neil Brown is not in good position.
Yeah, West Virginia is not going to the Big 10 or the Big 12 championship game. Texas 55, Kansas 14. They smoked them. This was never, ever in doubt. I mean, from the jump.
Yeah, there's sometimes some noise that gets introduced with Texas and Kansas, such as one team overachieving and one team underachieving. But maybe we forget that the talent difference is what it is. Kansas does not have a Bijan. They just don't have one. And Bijan Robinson had quite a classic game for him in this outing. Oklahoma 28, Oklahoma State 13. Richard, what do they say about Bedlam? Anything can happen.
Anything, Alex. Anything. Oklahoma can win by a lot. They can win by, a little bit. They can win by a medium amount. This was more the medium amount variety. This shouldn't have been the medium amount variety, by the way, because Oklahoma went up 28-0 and then just stopped scoring.
Yes. Ultimately, it is true that their defense won this game, at least in the second half. Oklahoma State did the Oklahoma State thing. They were over the century mark in plays run, and they scored one offensive touchdown, 5 trips to the red zone, 1 touchdown, 2 field goals. Will not do the job against very many teams at all, but definitely not Oklahoma. In the Big Ten, Michigan 19, Illinois 17. The Illinois thing makes me pretty sad the way the season has unfolded, and this game was a microcosm of that. They got a classic Chase Brown performance, tried to sit on it and couldn't. Jim Harbaugh, good game management, worked out well for him, settled for a field goal down 4 in the last few minutes, got the ball back with a stop, and then J.J. McCarthy got him down there. And Jake Moody, who is, as Harbaugh called him, an Iceman, made his 4th field goal to win the game.
Yeah, Michigan. I thought Michigan was actually pretty much going to flat dominate Illinois. They did not.
Same.
Blake Corum got hurt in this game, tried to come back, and then couldn't make it. That's a space to watch, given what's coming next Saturday. Some questionable reffing. He called ticky-tack, whatever at the end there. Brett Bielema was obviously not very happy, but Michigan gets it done and fulfills their end of the bargain to make next week what it's supposed to be. Ohio State filled up the other end of the bargain, unfortunately, for the Dirty Terps, Alex. Ohio State 43, Maryland 30. It wasn't actually a 2-score game. Ohio State had a defensive touchdown at the very end.
Yeah, Maryland fought really hard in this game, and I'm proud of them for that effort. Talia Tagovailoa is a top 2 quarterback in program history.
Got hurt again at the end.
And you feel for him.
I'm not trying to make fun. It feels like he is always hurt.
It does. It feels, I just, in general, always fear watching him and his brother. It feels like these guys just get hit very hard and hurt a lot, and I just feel for them and fear for them. For Ohio State purposes, and it was a great fight by Maryland. For Ohio State purposes, I wonder about the run game.
You should.
I really wonder about it.
You should wonder about the run game.
It's partially from a health standpoint. So the run game got a lot better here when they stopped trying to play Travion Henderson, who has been hurt. Dallin Hayden, the freshman, came in and ran it perfectly effectively. Had a really nice game. Still wasn't a dominant bulldozing performance from Ohio State like you would want to see against a team like Maryland. That it does raise a question about if they can run the ball against Michigan. Now, Michigan has their own questions. Can they throw the ball against Ohio State? But it wasn't the most encouraging trench showing for Ohio State until Zach Harrison decided the game was over on the last drive on defense and did what he did to Maryland's left tackle, Jalen Duncan.
Michigan's going to win. Iowa 13, Minnesota 10. The Iowa thing, enough. Enough is enough, man. Oh, my God. which means I had Minnesota over 16.5 and Minnesota minus 2.5. Like, it's not like Minnesota didn't break big plays off. Like, it's not like Minnesota didn't move
Mo
the
Ibrahim
ball.
went over 200.
Like,
and then left.
this was incredible. A costly fumble by Mo Ibrahim at the end is why they lost, basically.
To Iowa's credit, this was a little bit more of the complimentary football kind of game
Also,
than Iowa's.
Kirk almost iced his own kicker at the end.
Oh, yeah. Interesting strategy move. Paid off, though. Iowa actually moved it through the air here. Spencer Petras had kind of a day, and it's an Iowa QB day. So, like, it's what I'm talking about is 221 yards. But they, like, their offense stayed on the field for a while and actually, like, did a little bit for the defense, as much as you can do when you score 13 points.
They still had, I believe,
the
two
last
takeaways.
of those were, yeah, and the last of those were set up by the defense directly. But if Iowa beats Nebraska on Friday, which they're going to do, they're going to be the team that goes to Indianapolis, and that's, you know, I mean, I don't know that. I think Iowa fans want that. I mean, obviously the game will be what it will be, but it will be a cool thing to win the division and a kind of good fuck you to the haters moment for Kirk Ferentz. Not that he has been vindicated in any way strategically, but if you win the division, you win the division. Purdue 17, Northwestern 9. Quickly, Purdue remains alive. They will need help. They will need Iowa to lose that game, and they will need to win the old Oaken Bucket against Indiana. Wisconsin 15, Nebraska 14. Just a note here that Wisconsin is now out of this Big Ten West picture despite a victory, and also that you'd like to see a little better from their offense than you've seen the last few weeks, particularly in this game against the Nebraska defense. I don't know that it's disastrous for Jim Leonard or anything like that, but you would have liked to have seen more.
Wisconsin has publicly posted the job for head coach on their, like, you know, whatever HR listserv thingy or whatever. Gee, wonder who's going to get it. Indiana 39, Michigan State 31 in 2 overtimes. We had some farce here at the end with some missed field goals, some blocked kicks. It went into double overtime. Friend of the show, Chris Vanini, says this sets up the biggest rivalry game in the Big Ten next weekend, Michigan State and Penn State. He is wrong. I know he's listening to this, but Indiana wins, and good for Indiana to win.
I did not think they were going to get a fourth win. Good for them for finding one. And Mel Tucker's got to figure some stuff out. Not that he's on the hot seat. He can't be for about, 7 years, but he's got to figure some stuff out. Georgia Tech 21, North Carolina 17 as we go to the Atlantic Coast. Drake May and Josh Downs did not have their best nights, and Georgia Tech, though, just kind of keeps plugging away. And a very emotional Brent Key stressed that point, how hard these players have worked since Jeff Collins got fired. Good for them. They're going to the last week of the season, and they are bowl possible. Not really, because you know who they play, but the fact that they are playing meaningful football in week 13 after where they were left when Jeff Collins got fired is legitimately a hugely impressive string of wins by the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, look, they got competent coaching under Brent Key since Jeff Collins got fired, and the tide has risen for Georgia Tech. And I think that's about the best you could say. I don't think Jeff Sims played in this game, unless I'm tripping. And Georgia Tech still played it out, or excuse me, Georgia Tech.
No, I don't believe that he did. They actually used a couple of quarterbacks, including the backup Taysom Pomachan, who was really important as a runner in this game down near the goal line. I think that Georgia Tech just kind of gritted this thing out. Hassan Hall running in for a touchdown on 3rd and goal from the 6 was sort of the key play, and great for the Beast. It's a great win. UNC will not be going to the playoff. Probably figured that, but it was at least possible. It is no longer. Clemson 40, Miami 10. Clemson still a hope here, honestly. I don't think it's likely. It's an outside shot, but Clemson keeps itself there.
Yeah, they're going to be in discussion.
Yeah. Assuming that they can beat North Carolina. It was interesting, though, because Clemson
assuming they can beat South Carolina.
Yes, South Carolina is maybe more serious than we thought. Clemson was not that sharp here. There was a string of 3 possessions in a row with turnovers in the third quarter. The thing was, they were God level on 3rd down. They were 14 of 19. They couldn't do much right except on conversion downs, and they scored 40 points. Miami hosts Pitt and has to win to make a bowl under Mario Cristobal. Virginia Tech 23, Liberty 22. I'm not sure why Hugh Freeze is still appealing. Virginia Tech, though, avoids a disaster. Like losing 2 G5 games in your same state on the road in the same year would have just been like tough. And they were 10-point dogs here. So good for them to get a win that prevents that under Brent Pry. In the American, Richard, a classic Navy performance.
It's always really funny when Navy does this to teams they actually do play every year. Like, and you know, it's just really funny. And they did it to UCF, man. They did it to a good UCF team too.
17-14. It was so Navy. They threw 1 incomplete pass. Ty Lavatai wasn't playing. They ran 63 times for 248. John Marshall on the defense had 4 sacks, and they closed this thing out with an 11-play, 33-yard drive. Excellent job, mids. Cincinnati 23, Temple 3, all pretty status quo. You'd like to see more, as you would all year, from Cincinnati's offense, though. And I am probably going to pick Tulane to win that game next week. Too. Tulane 59, SMU 24. Tulane just Tulaned them. They ran all over them. They did not do a ton in the air with Michael Pratt. They didn't need to. They just ran over SMU, which really can't play defense. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this Thanksgiving weekend game between Tulane and Cincinnati. I think it's one of the really good games of the weekend. And yeah, I prefer Tulane in the game. I think they're playing better, and I think offensively they are much more scary.
South Alabama 27, Southern Miss 20. South Alabama still needs help to get to the conference championship game from their friends at Troy. In state, they did not get that because Troy 34, ULM 16. Let's do these two together.
Yeah, so good for Carter Bradley in South Alabama. Quarterback there at 3 touchdown passes. South Alabama was trailing a pretty decent resurgent kind of Southern Miss program and managed to not lose that game. So, and that's an important one. Godfrey was talking about these teams are kind of budding rivals in the Gulf, as South Alabama has been somewhat ascendant. So huge win for them. And Troy is 9-2 under John Summerall. Like Godfrey was talking about, you're going to hear about Summerall probably starting even pretty soon for jobs because he just has had a very effective first year at Troy. If they beat Arkansas State, if Troy does, and Arkansas State is not great, then they will play Coastal Carolina for the Sun Belt title. Would be quite a first year, already has been for Summerall. Also in this league, James Madison 42, Georgia State 40. Richard, sorry, your Panthers Cinderella run at bowl eligibility ends.
I'm hurt. I'm crushed.
But JMU had a 25-point down comeback to beat App earlier this year and had 20 down to win this game. Todd Centeio, their quarterback, one of the real underrated stars of the season. What a nice first year, really, in FBS for James Madison. Richard, take us west. And I hope you saw the ending.
Yeah, this was
of this
wild,
game because it was brutal.
Dog. This was wild. Boise State. This was basically the Mountain West Mountain Championship game, and Boise State won it. But like, so Boise was trying to just like ice the game, run the clock out. They were pretty about to get the first down, right? And then he just like fumbles the ball in that weird way where the ball like pops up and doesn't hit the ground. And Wyoming is able to recover it. Wyoming then assumes the ball. You think, okay, well, hey, we're driving to win here. They've got an opportunity here.
Well, they recover it and run it all the way down the field.
Yes. They get near-ish to 20. They get near-ish to the red zone, near-ish to scoring opportunity, and then throw a pick in the back of the end zone.
Yeah, it's going to be one that Jaden Clemens, the Wyoming quarterback, is going to wish he had back, not just in terms of the result, but the process. It was first down. They had like 40 seconds left in the game. There were a lot of defenders there. It did not have to be thrown. The CBS Sports Network announcers were just kind of beside themselves, and so was I. But yeah, what a swing of emotions. George Halani, the running back for Boise, gets away with one. He's the most thankful man in America going into Thanksgiving week. And I think the most painful fashion for a team to lose this week, with the possible exception of Tennessee, has to be Wyoming. Just tough, very tough, very, very tough. On the western half of the Mountain West, remember this was Fresno State advantage, but San Jose State alive. That's settled. Fresno does what you knew they would do against Nevada, and San Jose State loses to a down Utah State, but a Utah State that's been better in recent weeks. They lose by 4 in Logan, so that settles that for the Mountain West. Also, a tough result in this conference is UNLV loses to Hawaii. In Hawaii, loses 31-25. things looked like they were developing a certain way this year for Marcus Arroyo in the early part of that season. They no longer look like they are developing that way. And we will see what that might mean for him. Richard, Conference USA, UTSA 41, Rice 7. I think UTSA is just way better than everybody else in this conference.
Yeah, they got it done. They needed to get it done. Rice, it has been interesting to follow Rice this season. This was not interesting. This was not fun.
Frank Harris for UTSA is great. He's been in college football forever now at multiple schools, but he's really found a place at UTSA and become one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country. He had one of his best games in this game. A lot of that coming as a runner. Auburn 41, Western Kentucky 17. I thought Western Kentucky was going to go in there and at least be like 50-50 to beat Auburn. Did not happen. Carnell Williams keeps it moving. Jarquez Hunter was not the sort of guy that Western Kentucky could tackle, and he had a huge game. Auburn, I think Auburn, even in this year, these running backs that they have, Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter, have been a bright spot. WKU remains in the hunt over in Conference USA. They need to beat FAU and get North Texas to lose to Rice. UTEP 40, FIU 6. Miners could make a bowl. Keep an eye on that one, as Godfrey noted on Patreon. As it relates to Dana Dimmel, would be a huge win, but it would have to come on the road against UTSA. Middle Tennessee also gets bowl eligible by beating FAU 49-21. But on the losing side of that, Richard, I don't think that it feels like the best career move for Willie Taggart, who is sitting on 5 wins and has to play WKU next week. I don't think it was very good for him to lose this game.
In my professional opinion, I concur. Maction, obviously do not play on Saturdays. Got it done on Tuesday and Wednesday night. There was some farcical tackling at the end of the Toledo Bowling Green game that you should probably watch if you haven't seen it yet. And Toledo clinched the MAC West East up for grabs. Ohio and Bowling Green will play for it on Tuesday night if you want to start your Thanksgiving weekend of football early.
That they will. An FCS grab bag for us this week because there were some big games. First, want to say, please check out nokiantires.com/SCD. That's Nokian with an I, tires with an I.com/SCD. We would love it if you joined the hundreds of people who have put entries into our college football road trip map with our excellent partners at Nokian. My Nokian trip of the week and Godfrey's, the idealized one, was to Bozeman to see Montana State and Montana. Bozeman, Montana State, they put on a hell of a show, and so did the home team. Bobcats blitzed these guys. Montana had special teams problems here. They snapped the ball into their own end zone on a punt.
Not the first time. Not the first time this season that's happened.
Recurring type thing in the state of Montana this
year. They also had an a jump pass in the open field, relatively the open field. Then went for a nice touchdown.
Tough for Montana. Montana State is the better team this year and took care of business. Nokian basically invented the all-weather tire. I'm about to put it on some cold roads for 4.5 hours as soon as we are done recording this podcast. And I feel great because I know that my tires are going to do the job. Richard, speaking of doing the job, the North Dakota State Bison 42, North Dakota 21. The Fighting Hawks are better, but they are still not North Dakota State. Kings stay the king. Jackson State 24, Alcorn 13 in the Soul Bowl. Undefeated for Jackson State. Travis Hunter had a pick 6. Jackson State's going to play in the SWAC title game.
Travis Hunter also had a sick touchdown catch as a wide receiver. Penn 20, Princeton 19. Fourth quarter comeback for the Quakers.
Kind of a masterclass drive, too. 17 plays, 72 yards, 5 minutes. They go ahead with 5 seconds left. Incredible drama. And in doing so, they tied Princeton in the Ivy League. But, they do none of those teams get the Ivy League title. And the dream of the 4-way Ivy League tie does not come to fruition because Yale beat Harvard 1914. Yale winds up at 6-1 and with an unlikely solo title. Congratulations to all of the Yale fans out there for something finally breaking right for them in the world. We're happy for you guys.
So I think that UConn was kind of feeling themselves, deservedly so. After bowl eligibility, it's been a fun season. I do think there were some UConn fans who were earnestly wondering why they were 10-ish point underdogs to Army heading into this game, given what Army's been this season and what UConn apparently is. Well, the boys in Vegas know what they're doing. Army 34, UConn 17. This was, through kind of 2.5 quarters, three quarters, UConn was getting the job done, and then UConn was very much not getting the job done.
Yeah, anytime you have the shape of a game like this, you just wonder if you get worn down or if something gets turned up in the triple that you haven't anticipated. Army had like a 75-yard touchdown run in the third quarter to go up and then never look back at a point when UConn had been winning. For UConn, whatever. I mean, 6 wins is 6 wins. It's been a great year. Army has been down this year, but has UMass next. And so assuming you win that game, have a chance to go into a bowl. Not that you need extra stakes for Army-Navy, but Army not done yet as far as postseason play is concerned. Richard, that was a pretty brisk version of the split zone duo. Hurry up.
It is. You're headed where? You headed to Pittsburgh?
I'm headed to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home of my forebears. Gonna actually go and watch some AFC North football in like 26-degree weather today. So, and we're sitting up high, so can't wait.
God, who they playing?
The Bengals. No Jamar Chase though, so who knows?